Have you ever tried on a new pair of shoes at the store? Maybe you like the way they look. Maybe you like the way they fit. Maybe you even like the price. Only to find out that when you get them home and you wear them a time or two, they just really don't fit the way you'd hoped. Next thing you know, they're in the corner of the closet gathering dust, never to be used again. If you can relate to that, let me ask you, has the same thing ever happened to you with a gun? Hey there, folks. How you doing today? Welcome back to the channel. Please bear with any background racket that you might hear throughout this production. We're on location where life happens. Sometimes there's stuff going on right over there that interferes with what we're trying to do out here. Now, with that being said, welcome back to another episode of our UFO content, our unfiltered fans-only content. For those of you that are not familiar with what this is something that I do for the loyal fans of the channel, the folks that tune in every week and listen to the garbage that we broadcast. So, why shoes? We normally talk about guns. We're going to talk about guns today, but why shoes? I've got a pair of shoes out here, but I've also got a gun, and I'm fixing to show you the top 5 reasons buying a gun is kind of like buying a pair of shoes. Hopefully it makes sense. Stick around. I didn't mention it. I'll mention it now. The unfiltered part of our fans only unfiltered content means that no retakes. I mean, it would have to be really bad for me to do a retake. I know what some of you are thinking. It's really bad. That's beside the point. Now, this is unfiltered. We kind of shoot from the hip with what we talk about in these. And you're going to hear some pauses, my Shatner-esque pauses, tribute to the legend. Pray for him if you're not already. If you don't know who he is, reach out to me. I'll explain it. I've got some notes because, that's how I keep track of things these days. And we're going to talk about the top 5 ways that buying a gun is kind of like buying a pair of shoes. So let's see here. Number 5. You'll pay more for this year's style. What does that mean? Well, when you go to the department store or to the sporting goods store, whether you're buying shoes, you're buying guns, if you're like me, when you're buying guns, you're looking at the stuff that just come out. When you're buying shoes, you're looking at the clearance rack. I'm bad for wanting to buy something if it's new. If it strikes my fancy, I'll try to get it as soon as I can. A lot of that has to do with the fact that generally speaking, I share them with you here on this platform. And as a content creator, you want to try to get them out as soon as you can. But realistically, when you buy something that's brand new, if you saw it at SHOT Show last week in Vegas and you're wanting to buy it now, you're going to pay a premium for it. If you're wanting to buy a pair of shoes and they just came out, you're going to pay a premium. If you're buying last year's style, whether it be the gun or the shoes, you're going to get a better deal. Case in point, that's why I have it out here. I bought this Ruger Mark IV Target when they first came out with them, man. They were brand new to the market, and I think I paid like $700 for that thing. Well, I was on Palmetto State earlier, and you can get one for substantially less than that now. While that's still kind of a pricey firearm for what it is, our Taurus GX4. I bought this the first week they came out, and I paid full MSRP for it. Look what you can get them for now. I mean, it's true. If you want the latest and the greatest, you're going to pay for it, whether it's a pair of shoes or a new gun. You know what? Number 4 was so bad, I'm going to do it again. So here we go. Number 4, you have to get something that fits. There's not really any such thing as a one-size-fits-all. Probably the most noticeable exception to that rule would be the AR platform. Most folks can shoot one, especially if you have one with a nice 6-position stock. There's no recoil. The controls are real simple for the most part. So you can be a large man or a small lady and still be able to fit with an AR platform. But talking handguns, shotguns, hunting rifles, what fits 6'6" Uncle Steve might not fit 12-year-old Jenny. I've got kind of long monkey arms, and I need a longer length of pull to be comfortable with a hunting rifle. Some folks might need a bantam model with the little youth length of pull. No shame in the game. You got to work with what works for you. Just know that if you hand a 12-year-old kid a man-sized 375 H&H or 458 Win Mag, you're going to hurt that kid. You're going to damage his view of firearms. It's, you know, you gotta play with the right equipment. So, get a youth model 243 for the kid. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. If you're a great big kind of fat guy like me, appendix inside the waistband with a full-size pistol might be uncomfortable. It might not be the best concealment method. If you're a great big fat guy like me, you can probably get away with the same gun in a shoulder holster, no problem. So you have to get what fits, whether you're talking about the gun itself or the gear that supports it. No one size fits all. Okay, number 3. Guns are like shoes and can go out of style. Avoid fads. Stick with the classics. Now you'll understand why I have my shoes out here on the counter. These shoes are about 20 years old. I've had them for a long time. The job that I work right now, the day I walked in for my interview, I was wearing these shoes. I had to go to a meeting in another state for the job I have right now 2 weeks ago, and I wore these shoes. They worked just as well 20 years ago as they do now. They're great shoes. They're a classic style. The bottoms are getting a little smooth, I'll give you that. But they still fit most applications. Somewhere you need a pair of classic shoes, whether you're going to church, working at a bank, whatever it might be. The same can be said for a firearm. And an example I'll give you of that would be maybe not necessarily the platform itself. I mean, you could have something that's based on a Glock platform that's been around since the mid 80s, late 80s, somewhere in there. I don't remember the year they came out, but they've been around for a long time. It's a classic. It's a 1911 is a classic. Stick with a classic and in a conventional caliber. If you've got a pair of shoes that looks like this and it's 1978 and you're going to the discotheque, you're probably all right. Same pair of shoes nowadays, I stand corrected. You're probably still all right if you're still going to those kind of clubs. But it's faddish. It only fits in a niche, whereas something that has stood the test of time is going to fit in a lot more places. On that note, with handguns, stick to conventional caliber. Stay away from things like the 45 gap or the 30 super carry. We actually did a top 5 video on those a couple of months ago, I guess it was now. Just talking about that. Just, tried and true sometimes is just better on certain applications. Okay, moving on. Number 2. If it's not comfortable, you're probably not going to wear it. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. You buy a pair of shoes, you try them on. Yeah, these seem okay, but after wearing them for an 8-hour shift, your feet hurt. You say, well, let me break them in. A week later, 40 hours later, your feet are killing you. Those shoes are going, to the back of the closet or to the Goodwill or to the yard sale. They're done. You're not going to wear a pair of shoes that are killing your feet. That's kind of what I was getting at with step number 4. We're going to kind of touch base on it a little bit more. If you're trying to carry a large frame pistol in an uncomfortable appendix inside the waistband holster and you're sitting down driving a car all day or something like that and it's killing you, you're not going to want to carry it. It's going to discourage you from carrying the gun you bought to protect yourself with. Whereas if you're wearing it in a conventional outside the waistband, strong side carry holster, or in that shoulder holster I was talking about, or something of that nature, you're more likely to carry it. You're more likely to want to have it with you. If it's something that's easy to carry, like my SIG P365, that one's hot. Sometimes you'll forget you have it on you. There's been times I've had to and go back to the truck because I forgot I had it and I was going to be doing something or going somewhere where I couldn't take it. So, if it's so comfortable that you forget you have it with you, I mean, that's really what you're looking at. Is that something that you can get away with in every situation? Certainly not. Like right now, it's wintertime, even though I'm in short sleeves. I'm actually a little chilly out here, but I wore the short sleeves to show you this cool shirt that was provided to the channel by a viewer, Pastor Chuck from Sheep Among Wolves. He sent that to me. So big shout out to him. Thanks. If you're not familiar with him, I'll put a link in the description to his channel. Go check him out. All right. I think we beat that one to death. As all the millennial kids will tell you these days, you can't have a top 5 list without an honorable mention. So our honorable mention is touching on number 5, which was you'll pay too much for this year's style, or you're going to pay more for this year's style. Our honorable mention is you can pay too much for vintage too. As soon as something gets obscure, the price tends to go up. So I've got a couple of good examples of that. If you got an old original Winchester Model 94, that thing's never going to go down in value. It's going to continue to increase as long as it's maintained and well taken care of. Touching on a little story here, a long time ago, back when they first came out with them, I actually talked about it in one of the other top 5 videos that we did here a while back. I had a Marlin 1895G guide gun in 4570. It was the one with 18-inch barrel and the straight grip, and I always kind of wanted the one with the pistol grip like the Model 336 has and the larger loop. So I sold that one when I needed money to take care of some things. We had a family issue and I needed money for it. I sold it for $500. I figured, well, I'll buy a new one as soon as I can recoup the money. That was right about the time that Marlin as an entity went bankrupt and Remington absorbed them. And the quality of those Marlin rifles it tanked. And we're only now seeing it come back with the Rugers, which are very expensive. But if you go on the urine-scented back alley that is gunbroker.com, a JM-coated Marlin, an original Marlin, is twice as expensive as it was just a few years ago. And they're going up like crazy. It's getting stupid, but not as stupid as an old pair of shoes. Get a load of this. 1985 original Nike Air Jordans. Most of you don't have a vehicle that comes close to being worth what that pair of shoes is worth. I mean, vintage can get ridiculous. That's what I was getting at there. All right. Moving on. Number 1. You need the right one for the job. This is probably the most important thing. I kind of touched on it earlier, but if you're going to Wyoming on a pronghorn antelope hunt, you're probably not going to get one if you take a 12-gauge slug gun that you would use to harvest a whitetail in Ohio. If you're going salmon hunting in Kodiak grizzly country and you're carrying this 22 instead of this 10 millimeter, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to take a 338 Lapua and go squirrel hunting with it. That's what you need a 22 rifle for. So they're not all interchangeable. I had a conversation with a guy. I don't think it stuck. I don't think it stuck at all. I actually had a conversation with a guy the other day that had written in. I'm going to put the comment up here. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to give you the gist of it. He likes his 10 millimeter so much he got rid of all of his 9s and 40s, and now the 10 millimeter is the only thing he carries because it might not be comfortable, but it sure is comforting to carry the 10 millimeter. He's carrying it as an everyday carry weapon, and that's cool if you're careful and if you can back it up with a solid alibi. But if you're familiar with the story of Harold Fish, I think it was out of Arizona a few years ago. I'll try to find a link to it. I'll put it down below. Basically, this guy got into a situation where he had to use his tin to protect himself. He neutralized a threat with it, and the prosecutor in that area tried to rake him over the coals because he was using this big destructive round, the 10 millimeter. And comments like I only carry the 10 now because it's more powerful and it'll neutralize somebody better than the 9 or the 40, which the FBI has long established are perfectly adequate for most anti-personnel type situations, especially with modern bullets. That's why we've gone back to the 9 versus the 40, and the 40's kind of moved into obscurity. The things you say publicly, the things you post on the internet about, I want to make sure I kill him, that's why I'm carrying a 10 millimeter. If it ever happens, God forbid you ever get in that self-defense situation, depending on where you're at, that could be used against you. So just food for thought. Yeah, you want to carry something that's adequate, but can you carry too much? I think so, and I'm being careful because I think you ought to be able to carry whatever you want to carry to protect yourself with. Firm believer in that. But if you're carrying a 50 caliber Desert Eagle, or if you're carrying a 44 Magnum, so you can say, "Go ahead, punk, make my day." We know the world we live in these days. Somebody's going to use that against you. Somebody's going to say, "Why did you have to carry such a big lethal round? Why couldn't you carry something more conventional like what everybody else, like what the police carry? Why?" Decide for yourself if that's something you're comfortable with, and I'll leave it at that. So that kind of covered our top 5 list. You'll pay more for this year's style. Get something that fits. There's not really a one size fits all. Guns can go out of style. If they're not comfortable, you're probably not going to wear it or carry it. You can pay too much for something old as well, and you need to get the right one for the job. That's the list. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want, you can quit right there. I'm going to cover a little bit of housekeeping for the channel for the loyal folks right now. So starting with Pastor Chuck. Thanks for the hat. Thanks for the shirt. Love you, brother. I have channel stickers. These are our Fed Up J. Lewis on Rumble. If you're not familiar that we have a Rumble channel, I'll put the link down below in the description. Hope you enjoy those. We can put stuff on Rumble that we can't put on YouTube. YouTube censors content that Rumble doesn't censor, so just be aware of that. I've got stickers that match the shirt. If you'd like one of these, if you'd like one of those stickers, or if you'd like one of each or whatever, drop me a line. I'll reach out to you. I'll put my email address that I use for this stuff down in the pinned comment. It flags stuff when you put it in the description, so I don't put it there, although I do have it on my channel page. So you can go look it up there, or you can look in the pinned comment down below. Send me an email with your address and say, "Hey man, I want a sticker." I promise you, I will not solicit you in any way. I will not bother you after the fact. But this has come up before, so I've got to say it. I've got to clarify. If you want a sticker and you are not willing to give me your address, I can't send one to you. But that has come up twice now, so I have to make a point of it. All right, a couple other things. You might be able to see my range bag over there in the corner. Going to take the missus out tomorrow morning and get her concealed carry license for her, so good deal there, but excited to do that. Texas is a constitutional carry state now, but doing it mainly for the reciprocity if you go across state lines or whatever. Another nice feature is in Texas, if you have concealed carry, it omits the NICS check when you're trying to acquire certain things. So that's kind of cool too. I've got some stuff coming up real quick. I don't know if you can see it up there. I'm not going to get up and get it right now. I've got a huge, enormous rifle scope up there in the corner. Heaviest scope I've ever held, I think. Fairly new. I was approached by a young lady from the company that makes it. She's like, hey, would you like to test one of these? And I said, yeah, sure. And then I didn't hear anything from her for months. So I figured, well, okay. Fly by night. Forgot about it. She just recently got back with me. She says, hey, I'm sorry I never saw your email come back, but I was going through my emails and I saw it. Do you still want to try it? I said, sure, send it out. So we're going to be touching on that very soon. If you see my Savage Axis up here in the MDT Oryx chassis, the last video that we did, I showed that I had a rust issue on one screw on that chassis because I forgot to spray it before I hung it up out here on this wall, and so it's got a little flash rust on it. That Savage Axis, while it hasn't started to yet, those aren't known for having the best finish on them. I did it to the last one that we had. I'm going to do it to this one. I'm going to tear it down, Cerakote it, and put it all back together before I put this new scope on it for that review. So let me know down below if you would like to see the step-by-step video of the Cerakote job on that rifle and on all the metal work on that Oryx chassis there. We're going to do all the screws and steel parts on the chassis the same color as the rifle. Let me know if that's something you'd want to see. Otherwise, man, this video has been going on forever now, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. But thanks for watching. Take care. God bless.